In this video, I'm going to be going over 10 practice questions for the Security Plus exam, in particularly for SY0-601. Now, you could use these questions for any other older Security Plus 501, even 401 exam, as some of these attacks and things we're going to be talking about has pretty much been around forever. My name is Andrew Ramdial, and I'm one of the instructors here at Technical Institute of America. I teach a variety of security classes and project management courses. Let's go ahead and get started and knock out some of these practice questions. And particularly, I got 10 of them. So let's get started. Okay, so where is my question? Here we go. Question number 1. So I'm going to read the question. You guys read along with me. If you get the answer ahead of me, that's great. So let's see if you guys can get them. And when we're done, I'm going to explain the answer to you and how those particular attacks works. Most of the questions in this set is going to be about attacks. All right, practice question number 1. Which of the following password attacks would only use the list of passwords without their corresponding hashes? A, dictionary. B, brute force. C, rainbow tables. D, offline brute force. All right, the answer here, hopefully you guys got this. The answer here was A, dictionary attack. Why is that? Well, first of all, if you read into the question, it says it's a list of passwords, which is really what a dictionary attack is. It's basically a list of passwords that is given to a piece of software like Hashcat. If you do my labs, if you watch our videos or you do our classes, you'll see we have a whole lab on using Hashcat to crack passwords. We actually give you a list, something like the ROCU file, which is basically a list of passwords that you can give it over and it tries to crack the password. Notice it says without the corresponding hashes. If it had the corresponding hashes, it would become more of a rainbow table lookup type thing versus a dictionary attack. All right, hopefully you guys got that. Question number 2. A security analyst has just analyzed the log files on a web server and has noticed an attacker was able to create a false user in the web application. Which of the following attacks probably led to this? A, race condition. B, integer overflow. C, SQL injection. And D, pass the hash. All right, were you guys able to get this one? And the answer here is going to be SQL injection. So what exactly are injection attacks? Injection attacks is when you take commands, especially like database commands, like SQL commands or even LDAP commands, and you type them into an application. Basically, you're typing database commands into an application to execute those commands against the database. So the application front end, like a web front end, you would type the commands into a field on a web application or on a website, and then it would execute those commands. And this can do things like creating users, modifying data in the database, or having the application just return data that you shouldn't be seeing. Really dangerous stuff. All right, practice question number 3. A user has called the help desk and has informed them that every time they type a company's domain name, it redirects them to a site asking them to input their credit card information. Which of the following attacks led to this? A, evil twin. B, pass the hash. C, ARP poisoning. Or D, DNS poisoning. All right, I thought this one here was a pretty easy one. Let's see if you guys are able to get this. And the answer here is DNS poisoning. Now, first of all, this one I thought was pretty easy because it says here, company's domain name, it redirects. So it's doing something, it's manipulating something with a domain name. So if you're able to say, okay, domain names, how does that link? Well, domain name translations to IP addresses are done with DNS. So I thought that was pretty easy because DNS was there and domain name was there. So what DNS poisoning is they poison the DNS cache on your computer, or they poison the DNS server, and basically it changes the let's say Facebook IP is a particular number, and it then changes that particular number. So when you type Facebook, it redirects them to a whole nother web server. Dangerous stuff. This is generally done by malware. All right, question number 4. During a pen test, the tester looks for information about the organization, such as domain names and emails. What phase is this? A, reconnaissance. B, vulnerability assessment. D, remediation. And C, remediation. And D, information finding. All right. Hopefully you guys remembered your pen testing step, because if you did, you would have known the answer here is reconnaissance. Reconnaissance is when the pen tester goes out and tries to find as much information about the organization on the internet, about that particular business. So this is going to be like looking at the company's website, looking at its LinkedIn profile, or if it's a publicly traded company, go into all your financial sites, looking for financial information and so on. All right. Practice question 5. A user has received a text message stating to click on a particular link in order to win a free prize. But they would first have to input their credit card information. What kind of an attack is this? A, spam. B, tailgating. C, dumpster diving. D, spammer. Actually, if I take the acronym there, you're probably gonna get the answer, because that is the correct answer. All right, I kind of messed that one up. I basically gave that one to you. Yeah, if you know, spam actually means spam over instant messaging, and you notice he's receiving some kind of a text message or instant message in the question. You know, spam, dumpster diving, tailgating, or even piggybacking can fall into different branches of social engineering, and spam is definitely one of them, because they're trying to get you to click on a link in a text message. Okay, guys, question number 6. User reports accidentally clicking on a link that they thought might be malicious 4 months ago, but nothing happened at that time. Recently, however, the computer is not able to boot and gives a message that the bootloader has been deleted. What best describes this form of malware? A, Trojan. B, worm. C, keylogger. And D, logic bomb. The answer here, guys, is going to be a logic bomb. So logic bombs are basically malware that comes into your computer and then has some kind, remember for your exam, some kind of detonation point, some kind of trigger point. And one of the trigger points can be timed, so it may infect your computer, and then it may take a few months before it detonates and erase all your things on your machine or encrypt them. Some of them are even activated by you going to a particular website. So let's say you go to bankofamerica.com, it turns on and it keylogs all of your information. So that would be a logic bomb. All right, question number 7. An administrator has noticed a wireless network setup with the same SID as the company's network, and a few users have joined this network. What kind of an attack is this? A, twin attack. B, evil twin. C, disassociation. And D is jamming. Answer here is going to be, hopefully you guys got that, evil twin. So an evil twin is basically a wireless network that an attacker sets up outside your organization, or maybe even internal to your organization, that mimics your exact organization. What they're trying to do is have your users join them and steal data from them. Question number 8. An organization has kept all computers updated with operating system updates and antivirus updates. They have recently noticed a spike in network traffic, and users are complaining about files not being accessible. What may have caused this? A, zero-day attack. B, buffer overflow. C, man in the middle. And D, crypto malware. The answer here, guys, is going to be zero-day attacks. So a zero-day attack occurs when an attack is released into the public, but there's no fix for it. So let's say a new malware comes out, but Symantec hasn't made a new definition for that virus, or Microsoft hasn't patched their operating system yet. It's considered to be a zero-day exploit. Zero-day exploits are very dangerous because these are attacks with no fix, and they could be inside of your network, inside of your computer right now. You don't even know about it. Okay, question number 9. The security analyst has noticed in the security lock files that an unknown IP address has been trying the same password against numerous user accounts. What type of attack is this? Password spraying, dictionary attack, brute force, or offline brute force. So a couple of things there. It says it's trying the same password against numerous user accounts. Answer here would be password spraying. So this is going to be different than just trying to brute force somebody's password. So what they're doing is they pick one particular password and they try it against multiple user accounts. The reason they do this is because if they try multiple passwords against the same account, it may lock that account out. So remember, an attacker just needs to get one of your user accounts. They don't need to attack just that particular account. If there's 20 people working in the accounting department, they just need one of those accounts to work. So why not try one password against multiple accounts? And finally, question number 10. An organization has a specialized group of security professionals that works to manage their internal pen testers and security administrators. Their main task is to ensure that these two groups are working towards securing the organization. What type of team is this? Red team, white team, blue team, or purple team? The answer here, guys, is going to be a white team. So red teams are people within the organization that works to break the company. They're like the ethical hackers within the business. The blue team are the ones that uses to secure the organization. The purple team are folks that works on both sides. So you have one guy that some days he's doing red, some days he's doing blue, and the white teams are going to be the people that manages these particular teams. Okay, so guys, hopefully you guys enjoy this quick video on 10 practice security plus questions. We're going to be doing a lot more of these videos. We're also going to be doing some videos for A+ and Net+. So if you enjoyed this, subscribe to our channel, like this video, put in the comments below which questions you thought was pretty difficult to answer and what type of questions you would like for us to add coming up a little bit later. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.